Weren't we supposed to be looking at the at that other thing, the cuck philosophy thing? Yes, let's see that. Or let's listen to that.
A lot of people asking about Vosh. I guess it's inevitable for me to talk about it. I don't think Vosh is, uh, nothing against him as a person, but I don't think his socialism is genuine. And I think his sort of his very strict support of Biden has been disastrous, and we see that now. We see that Biden isn't even fulfilling the very small reformist promises that he had.
That's the point. You said this would happen. Guys, remember when I said literally this? That Biden will get elected and people will be like, you supported this guy every time Biden fucks up or does something bad or fails to do something good. And I'm like, yeah, see, look, now people are disillusioned. And hey, Biden's approval rating has plummeted. Wonder if this is a good opportunity to maybe talk to liberals about how reformism isn't an effective way of addressing these economic problems. Dude, you support Biden even though he's not popular? What possible reason could a leftist have to want a liberal who will fail to solve the country's economic problems win and be president? What strategic benefit do we get from that? God damn it. Oh, maybe he substantiates a little bit, little further.
I think the kind of the attempt by a lot of socialists to get people to vote for Biden has only kind of made the socialist movement seem kind of hypocritical and in the wrong. And
how? Trump is worse than Biden. How? What? Trump is worse than Biden. How? I don't like. I'm not seeing it. I'm not.
I also disagree with his market socialism.
The classic.
I think that what people call market socialism is simply a different version, a different manifestation of capitalism. And in my view, and in Marx's view, markets cannot coexist with socialism.
Well, what if market socialism was just a way of eliminating class divisions, which would set us up easier to reform the commodity system? What if market socialism is a transitory period between where we are now and fully achieved socialism? What if it's possible that we could do a thing and it would be better than what we have now, but it could be even better if we kept doing that thing until we arrived at another thing? It's unfortunate because I know Cuck Philosophy is a smart guy, but like how ideologically limited do you have to be to trip up on these like 101 talking points, you know? It's always the same three arguments. Yeah, it is. Cuck Philosophy is smarter than this. Like it's like they I honestly feel like it's being patronizing. They think I'm stupid, so they don't take the time to put any thought into my positions. They assume that my positions are as simple as the stupidest version of what they've heard from all their social media orbiters. They're not charitable enough to actually like listen to me talk about it. So they just hear it and they just assume, oh, he wants, but they hear I like market socialism, so they think in their head like, oh, he thinks market socialism is perfect. He thinks market socialism is real socialism. He doesn't have a problem with commodification, etc., etc. Even though I've never said any of these things, they just assume it because they don't like think very much of me. It's disappointing, you know. They say assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but I already had an ass, just one, and I still have one. And now Cuck Philosophy has two asses, which is really embarrassing. Anyway,
Yeah, like the whole kind of co-op socialism, which also Richard Wolff, is a proponent of.
I don't want to be associated with
It's
him anymore.
not genuinely anti-capitalist because it preserves all of the main, the fundamental mechanisms of capital.
It's literally like NPC talking trees. I've just heard. This would be like somebody saying, like, I want a proletarian revolution so that we can have a dictatorship of the proletariat. And somebody looks at you and goes, you want a dictatorship of the proletariat? Well, I, for one, believe in communism, which involves statelessness. A dictatorship of the proletariat is a proletarian state. So I disagree with your desire for a proletarian revolution because I don't like state. Like, you have to do a thing, then you do the other. There's time moves linearly from human perspectives. We have to move the piece from one. I like what, like, think about it, man. The funny thing is, like, every time I talk directly to a leftist about this, chat, have we ever gotten disagreement? I'm really, though, like, when we talk with one of those orthodox lefties who thinks that market socialism is fake, we've done this a dozen times. 5 minutes in, don't they always agree with me? Even Hakeem agreed with me, and Hakeem is like one of the big tanky channels. They always back off. Yeah, unless, I mean, I guess if they're like fucking crazy, like they're one of those like frothing at the mouth tankies who scream about how anything short of immediately psychically executing the bourgeoisie is tantamount to liberalism, which is the moderate wing of fascism. But I'd like to believe that for the real conversations that I've had, like, people concede this to me like really, really quickly. I don't know. I just don't know why people don't think about it a bit beforehand. Like, hey, why does Vosh like market socialism? What are the benefits of market socialism? Well, market socialism would be significantly more pro-worker than the system we have now. So even if it didn't achieve socialism, it would be worthwhile in and of itself, I think, for those benefits. But what else? Well, under market socialism, because everyone owns the place they work at, collectively, there's no longer any bourgeoisie, right? Because in a Marxian sense, the proletariat and the bourgeois are distinguished by their relationship to the means of production. But in an economy where every single worker collectively owns the means of production, you no longer have two distinct economic classes: people who make money by working and people who make money by owning others' labor, by obtaining surplus value from others' labor. You would no longer have that distinction, which means a lot of stuff. You would massively resolve a ton of economic and political divides associated with business ownership, because everyone owns their businesses. There wouldn't be a complete fix to all these issues, but it would set up a strong foundation for forward movement. For example, spreading the trend to other countries, having perhaps not just national unions, but international unions rise in prominence again, like the IWW, worker solidarity stretching across borders. And that is a perfect environment for a genuine economic, paradigm shift. Now, I'm making it all sound very easy. Of course, there's a million bits to the details, but I think that's a good general strategy. I think that market socialism is a good general strategy. Hold on. I hear baby violence. Pigeon screams outside the door because Pigeon wants to be let in to, like, hang out with me. And then Artemy will hear her screaming and walk up to her and just, like, flop on her, and she'll scream even louder. It's a terrible cycle. Anyway.
Of wage labor and capital accumulation. And it kind of a co-op is basically just the working class being its own exploiters in a way.
There is a difference between that's such no, that's a really bad equivocacy. That's not true. That's not true. An economic system which relies on commodity production can still be innately exploitative, but that doesn't mean you're exploiting yourself by collectively owning the means by which you participate within it. That would be like saying that by extending exploitation to that length, it would be applicable in a non-commodified society as well. You guys know we'll have to work under communism, right? There are anti-work types on Twitter who will say, that's not work, that's labor. Suck my dick. People are going to have to work, okay? Don't be stupid. We're not going to all regress to Ancapistan. We want functioning sewers. We want people building computer chips. Don't be dumb. And in such an environment, there will still be incentive structures to encourage people to work. Maybe there are some community functions that will be taken care of voluntarily, but not all. I don't think all. And in those environments, you could have theoretically a perfectly communist society in which there are still incentives to do this, that, or the other. If we're saying like a worker cooperative is workers exploiting themselves, I think that's a, I don't know. Would that mean that like self-employment is exploiting yourself? Am I exploiting myself? Because I, of course, I mean, technically, I don't even own a company, but if you were to take my channel as the thing which I own, I have intellectual control over it at least. I'm exploiting myself by that. That seems very silly to me. Um, you could argue the system still mandates exploitation, but not that the exploitation is coming from the cooperative owners. And then you get into stuff like natural exploitation, like the fact that humans need food and water and shelter and stuff. Like we are naturally mandated, coerced to do this, that, or the other to shield ourselves from mortality, from injury. And that's worth diving into philosophically, but I don't think it's the same as like exploiting yourself. We're really analyzing their statements. I hope I'm not coming off as uncharitable or whatever. I just I don't know. It really frustrates me when people are like, Vosh likes market socialism, and I think that's dumb because that's not real socialism. And also, he supported Biden, but Biden has ended up being bad. Like, like I don't know. Look into it a bit. You know, learn about my controversies. I'm sure you can find a couple of things I'm legitimately wrong about.
Because even if a given workplace is worker owned, the society in general is still under the domination of capital.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hello, pigeon. Ooh. Are you a
and
cat?
there's a reason that co-ops can exist in capitalism, because they don't actually challenge capitalism. And this is, I'm not going to.
Okay, that is an extraordinarily stupid perspective. That's very, very dumb. Capitalism is concerned first and foremost with maximizing the profit margins of people who have the power to do so. There are plenty of things that would be like saying that Das Kapital doesn't challenge capitalism because big publishers and bookstores feel perfectly comfortable putting it on their shelves. It is as smooth-brained of a take as that. And I've heard people make that argument, by the way, but it was all on Twitter, so we can assume fairly that it was a stupid argument by proxy. No, that's really, really dumb. That would also be like saying like democracy isn't inherently anti-feudalism because feudal societies allowed for like democratic rule in some villages. That's not how anything works, okay? You can make the argument that the existence of some cooperatives does not destroy global capitalism, to which my response would be nothing destroys global capitalism so far. So far nothing has. We're not saying if the threshold for success in advocating for socialism is the overthrow of global capitalism, then not only have we not overcome that bar, we haven't even gotten close. We're still on the ground level, man. We haven't even gotten close, considering the fact that the Soviet Union was the biggest challenge to the US hegemony in the past century, and they were state capitalist. Dude, we're not capitalist. We don't have bourgeoisie. We just have the party aristocracy, an unelected group of inner circle officials who dictate everything political and economic and have complete control over the lives of the working class. Dude, it's not like capitalism. It's better because it's anyway, yeah. I feel like I'm having a little bit too much fun here. We shouldn't be arguing with leftists right now. Hold on. But I need to finish this.
Say that co-ops are not better, so long as we're in capitalism. I'm not going to take a stance on that. And,
Wait, they aren't better, or they're not going to say they're not better?
I'm not going to say that co-ops are not better, so long as we're in capitalism. I'm not going to take a stance on that. And,
well, that's nice.
This is by no means a critique of people who try to democratize their workplaces or people who find themselves being more fulfilled.
Wait, if it's not, then why
in co-ops? But it's not a socialist form of organization.
I just haven't one of the biggest things that socialists been that have done over the past century is unionize? Aren't union organizers and socialists like buddy buddy historically? Is that not like the major unionization isn't socialism? You know that, right? Like workers' rights also aren't socialism. The 9 to 5 is not socialism. Weekends is not so like what is again like we're setting the threshold here at the complete overthrow of global capitalism, which again, I'm sorry, we're not getting right now at least. So yeah, I just can you imagine like Cuck philosophy back in like 1919 or something, like crossing his arms smarmily at the coal miners and going like, you know, it's still capitalism even if children can't work in the coal mines. I Cuck philosophy. I noticed you made a YouTube channel, and I still live under capitalism. Clearly, your channel isn't how. It's just a really dumb way of analyzing things. Like, yeah, okay, we get it. It's global capitalism. It's the most pervasive and powerful economic system to have ever existed by an exponential degree, infinitely more so than anything that came before. It's a big enemy. We don't need to set overthrowing it as the only standard for viable socialist advocacy.
And we know this because the state doesn't try to, explicitly suppress it. Because when you have genuine,
There are systemic problems to opening cooperatives. Legally, they're fussy. Banks tend not to loan to them. What do you mean, like they haven't outlawed them? The government also hasn't outlawed being a communist. Like, even during the McCarthy era, you could be a communist legally. They would discriminate against you, but you could, like, I'm just saying, like, it's fucked. Hold on, pigeon. They did outlaw the Communist Party. There are literally communist parties in the United States right now active. So does that mean like they're not gonna like uh, uh,
socialist forms of organization that enact a kind of dual power in society, the state takes a very clear and a very material stance against it. Whereas when it comes to
like what? What do you that like dual power? I've heard that term used in a million ways. What do you mean by like the state takes a clear stance against it? What version of dual power do you think we're using today, chat? I'm not besmirching their knowledge. I legitimately don't know which direction it may or may not take. You know? Seriously, none of you? Okay, I don't just like what examples? He meant worker councils like the Hungarian Revolution Council communists. You mean the thing that Lenin smashed? Workers councils. Like what? Workers councils aren't communism, right? Also, worker councils kind of grow out of unions. I mean, at least they're parallel organizations. A country that doesn't have high union participation is probably not going to be interested in workers councils. But like unions aren't socialism. This is just an arbitrary standard. Dual power doesn't necessarily have to build socialism either. And by the way, even if we had robust, and again, I really don't know what specific organizations we're referring to here, but even if we had dual power in the US, you know what we would still have, chat? Take a guess. Come on. Capitalism. Thank you. Slow on the uptake today. It's because it's cold. Our hands are all cold.
To co-ops, just as when it comes to reformist parties, it's a lot more friendly to them. Yep, worker councils.
Okay.
That is what I think is a genuine form of workers organizing.
So wait, not unions or anything like just workers. Okay, this is the kind of insular. I assume this person reads a lot of books because they care about philosophy. This is the kind of insular. The Lenin would have you shot. I'll say that much. Okay, people who detach their advocacy from the material conditions of the society that they live in are doomed to meaningless posturing and viral Twitter posts. You will never do any. You cannot do anything. You will never do anything. If you are in the modern, I don't know if he's American, but like the modern United States, honestly, like Western Europe too. If you're in any of these countries and you have like their arms folded, and you're like, worker councils are bust. Like he's from Lithuania, I think. Well, Lithuania might have a because they're a former Soviet bloc country. They might have a, oh, they live in Florida. Okay, okay. If you're in Florida, buddy, if you're in Florida and you're like, listen, worker cooperatives, unions, fuck that shit. Reformist parties, voting for Biden so a fascist doesn't win, fuck that shit, okay? Worker councils. Like, what are you doing? You have to build up these steps, and one of the best ways to do it is to advocate for worker solidarity, class consciousness. Worker cooperatives are an amazing way of doing that. Much better than unions, by the way. Unions preserve the autocratic hierarchy within businesses and only introduce a sort of alternate power structure that kind of represents the people who join it a little bit. They have their own power game going on. A worker cooperative avoids this issue by synthesizing the dynamic between the worker's desire to earn the highest possible wage and the business owner's desire to have the highest possible profit. Because they're the same people. The workers and the owners are the same people. This is an effective way of encouraging people to think more critically about their workplaces, their work, their labor, and what it means. You can't just run around screaming like workers' councils, like I don't even know what the alternative is here. What are we doing? What are we doing?
So someone asked about the Russian Revolution and the kind of challenges they encountered.
Okay, we're on a separate. Okay, all right, gotcha. Just and by the way, I know that if I talked with Cuck Philosophy, I bet you guys 10 minutes and he would agree with just about everything that I've said. I believe that, because I feel like my positions are almost inarguable. In this, people just don't take the time to understand them because they arrogantly they read some Twitter post calling me a liberal and they think, oh yeah, there's nothing more than that. I don't think Cuck Philosophy is a dumb guy. I like his videos. It's just there's something about me, man. Really gives people the license to feel like they don't need to understand what I'm saying or look into it.